a very renowned political analyst, diplomat, and international relations student, wrote an article that has gone viral on social media and that caught the attention of Undaunted. We have that editorial. Let's watch it. Right after that, you will react, and that will be the close of tonight's conversation.
All right, we'll take a look at this article by Marcus F. Abendong on the objection to Cameroon's United Nations General Assembly 79 presidency, a call to reform the United Nations system. The June 6, 2024 elections by acclamation of Cameroon's former Prime Minister Philemon as President of the 79th United Nations General Assembly is a demonstration of the world's body's long perceived indifference to the suffering of the peoples of the nations. It further presents the United Nations as a club of interest peddlers who care nothing about its own charter, conventions, and principles. It was very easy to see through the hypocrisy of the lone candidate's visions. Yet he and Cameroon, a country involved in a genocidal war, were acclaimed to the pinnacle of global leadership, as if to say, well done. Who is Philemon? What does he stand for? What does his country Cameroon stand for, and what shall their leadership be offering a world mired in conflict and in need of clairvoyant leadership? The United Nations General Assembly 79 President-elect Philemon Mr. Philemon is acclaimed as having risen to the highest grade in Cameroon's magistracy after serving as a prosecutor for only a few months and never as a judge. His experience as a diplomat includes only one prolonged stopover in Canada in 1984 to 2004, during which he never took a position on any subject whatsoever. His presence and participation at several regional and global conferences do not make him a clairvoyant leader, as his management of national affairs and crises betray his incompetence and lack of experience. Called back to Yaoundé from Canada in 2004, Mr. was appointed Assistant Secretary General at the presidency, during which service time, whatever was left of his self-esteem was completely squeezed out, making him a French and be a stooge. Throughout his tenures as Assistant Secretary General at the presidency and as Prime Minister, Mr. never lifted a finger to address the myriad problem of those he was supposed to be representing in government. His economic track record as Prime Minister is probably only second best to Prime Minister Dion Ngute as far as poor performance goes. It is recorded in recent history that the teachers and lawyers strike that escalated into the Amazonian War of Independence came about because of the reckless and lackluster manner with which Mr. handled the industrial actions. Instead of nibbling the conflict in the bud, Prime Minister Philemon acting on high instructions from Cameroon's strongman, toyed with the problem, traveling to Bamenda on December 8, 2016 to stage a protest rally against the teachers and lawyers, claiming that the people had absolutely no problem to complain about. This led to the brutal mowing down of 5 innocent youths, the very first being Akum Julius, a student of the University of Bamenda. Having failed to quell down the strikes, Mr. returned to Bamenda later the same month to carry out vertical negotiations with teachers and lawyers syndicates and other sectors of the civil society. While he negotiated, his cabinet members went on state TV to contradict him as they continued to hold that there was no, quote, Anglophone problem. The Prime Minister failed to sanction them. Little wonder his mission to Bamenda to solve problems that did not exist flopped woefully when the magician decided to recruit 1,000 non-existent bilingual science and technology teachers, instead of ordering for systematic massive recruitment and training of, quote, Anglophones, that is Southern Cameroonians, in the higher teacher training colleges of the universities of Bamenda and Boya, as requested by Teachers Union. The seasoned diplomat and head of government, it was who, on January 16, 2017, put an end to negotiations, banned the consortium, and ordered for the arrest of union leaders with whom his government was negotiating. Mr. Philemon whose incompetence led to the ongoing genocidal war in the southern Cameroons, is the person the world body which has, for principal mission, the maintenance of global peace and stability, has elected as their president for the next 1 year, beginning September 2024. How can a man whose inability to address union and professional demands in his home country be expected to handle a world mired in multiple violent conflicts and economic plagues? What does Mr. Yang, whose reaction to the escalating 2017 strikes in the southern Cameroon was to cut the internet and to cause prolonged information blackout, have to offer this digital generation? What opinion will such an individual have on any issue ranging from Russia's war in Ukraine to Israel's war in the Gaza Strip? What opinion and guidance will Mr. Yang, whose tenure as Prime Minister of Cameroon saw the highest level of deforestation in that country, have on the burning issues of climate change and global warming? What solution can a man who oversaw the pillaging and looting of his country's treasury have to proffer a world faced with multiple fronts of hunger, droughts, and civil strife? Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians believe that Mr. Yang only became La République du Cameroon's choice for the United Nations General Assembly job as a means to hoodwink the world into believing that Anglophones, Southern Cameroonians, are well considered and given positions of responsibility in the country that they are fighting a war to separate from. Ironically, and as proof of his loyalty, Mr. Yang himself debunked Yaoundé's farce by presenting his acceptance speech following the United Nations General Assembly elections in French, his second official language, instead of English, his first, which happens to be the preferred language of communications at the United Nations. In so doing, Mr. Yang communicated clearly that he is a pawn in the hands of the French, who lobbied other African nations to withdraw their candidates in his favor. In actual fact, it is not Philemon Yang, but Cameroon that is called to preside over the destiny of the world body beginning September this year. What is it about Cameroon that inspired the United Nations member nations to give it such a responsibility? Well, this is not the end of this very elaborate article by Marcus F. Abendong. And of course, in our subsequent bulletins, we'll bring to you the rest of them, beginning with a look at Cameroon from Marcus F. Abendong's eyes.
Mr. President, I don't know what you think, but do you think that Ambazonians or certain groups of Ambazonians have any reason to be disappointed? Maybe that
Yes,
should
of
be
course.
your conclusion.
Yes, of course. But my disappointment is directed to the African Union, not primarily on the United Nations, because it was the chance given to the African Union to select a country to chair the General Assembly for September 2014 to September 2024 to September 2025. So I understand the French lobby in Africa, especially when it comes to sub-Saharan Africa. I understand their strength and their influence over the African Union. So they did whatever they did, that's internal politics. But how that the leaders of the African Union sat down and they considered that Cameroon at this time was the best candidate they had to chair the United Nations General Assembly meetings is what is mind-boggling to me. And it is a unique candidate opportunity. It is not something that there was competition, that they will say, Africa bring your own, Asia will bring their own, Britain will bring their own, and then they vote on the floor. That's why the vote was by acclamation, because they told the African Union, go and bring us your candidate. That is the person that will chair the meetings. And this is a very ceremonial position. It has no executive powers. It has nothing to do with the executive actions of the United Nations. You hardly even remember the names of the of the presidents of General Assembly. If I ask you, How many presidents have been there under Antonio Guterres? You will not remember one of their names, because that's a ceremonial position that is occupied by anyone just to oversee the proceedings of um, that assembly, that talking assembly that gathers every year in September. Now, I don't know. I don't want to blame the United Nations for adopting this candidate that was presented to them by the AU when they had the opportunity to present something better. But I also think that the intention of the French lobbying behind to get Cameroon represented, it does not add any
Yeah.
much to Cameroon. That's why I don't want to waste my capital on it. Somebody even told me, gave me some idea that I should go and march in the United Nations. He's not Secretary General. He has no executive powers. He will preside over the talk assembly, as I call it, and then that's it. By next year, it's gone. Here is the thing: the only thing the French did all to achieve was to give Cameroon a kind of loudspeaker within the United Nations that would help to quell the rising tides against the war in Amazonia. So they hope to achieve some political gains by having someone in the house who can talk but for himself. Remember how the Cameroon representative used to come to United Nations and talk, and everybody leaves the floor. Everybody
Yeah.
literally just leave, and it's an empty room. You see, and so they just want to see if they can lend some clout to the Cameroonian state to have something to say when
Yeah.
the time comes. That's all they will enjoy for 1 year, and that's it. I don't think that is an endorsement
Yeah.
of their politics or victory to their diplomacy. No, my problem is with the African Union. What do they really
And yeah.
stand for? What do they really, if this is their best, if this is an examination, this is their best candidate. So my
What
problem
do
is
they
with the
stand?
African. So it's not a pass to anything that it stands for. Even if a carpenter was presented by the African Union as the next General Assembly president, he would have been adopted by the United Nations. There was no other candidate. That's how the system works. Even if
Yeah.
Atanganji, if Emil Bankui was the one who was sent there with blood in his hand, if that's the one that was chosen and sent by the African Union, they would have just done another acclamation. That's it. They are not there to vet. African Union should vet their candidates and try to represent themselves so that they can be respected by the world body.